The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
And today, the January 6th committee will hold its final public presentation. All of this comes after a year-and-a-half investigation into the insurrection. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington this morning with more on what we can expect from today's hearing.
NBC News has learned exclusively that the January 6th committee plans to issue at least 3 criminal referrals for former President Donald Trump today.
I think there's sufficient evidence to charge the president. This is someone who tried to interfere with a joint session, even inciting a mob to attack the Capitol. If that's not criminal, then I don't know what is.
The referrals carry no legal weight, but they will ask that the Justice Department pursue charges, including obstructing an official proceeding, conspiracy to defraud the government, and inciting or assisting an insurrection.
DOJ's job is a little bit different. They'll have to determine whether there is admissible evidence in court that could prove any of these charges beyond a reasonable doubt.
Panel members revealed the committee also plans to refer 4 Republican members of Congress who defied congressional subpoenas. The committee finalized its plans during a closed-door meeting Sunday and will lay out details to the public this afternoon.
Stay tuned for the hearing.
We will have a vote on referrals, as well as approving our overall report.
Former President Trump blasted the committee on social media over the weekend, calling them, quote, thugs and scoundrels. The Trump campaign says they will have more to say after referrals are made public. On Wednesday, the January 6th committee plans to release a lengthy 8-chapter report detailing its findings. In Washington, I'm Bree Jackson for NBC News.
Core Watch Now this morning, a man convicted of sex trafficking teenage girls now faces nearly 3 decades behind bars. A Kern County jury last month found Kawan Richardson guilty of 3 counts of human trafficking of a minor, in addition to gun and drug charges. Prosecutors said 26-year-old Richardson targeted girls at a local high school. On Friday, a judge sentenced Richardson to 27 years, 6 months in prison. He previously served time in Orange County on a human trafficking conviction as well.
American tourists are trapped in Peru at Machu Picchu amid deadly protests and political turmoil. After former President Pedro Castillo was impeached, arrested, and detained earlier this month, his supporters took to the streets, clashing with police. So far, more than 20 have been killed. His former vice president, Dina Boluarte, now president, defiant, declaring a state of emergency. The political unrest is now choking off tourism. The roads down there are blocked, trains have been halted. An estimated several hundred tourists, including Americans, are now trapped at the base of famed Machu Picchu.
As far as they know, they're trying to airlift us over to Cusco Airport, but we have not heard one helicopter yet.
Tuesday is when the roads were blocked and stuff, and our guide had to bribe the protesters to move the rocks.
The U.S. Embassy says Peruvian authorities confirm they're working to assist all travelers, but weather is also hampering rescue efforts.
North Korea fired a pair of ballistic missiles toward its eastern waters yesterday. According to the South Korean and Japanese governments, the 2 missiles traveled from the country's northwest area before landing in the waters between the Korean peninsula and Japan. The launches come 2 days after North Korea said it tested a high-thrust solid fuel motor for a new strategic weapon. Experts say the development could allow the country to possess a more mobile, harder-to-detect arsenal of intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach anywhere in the U.S.
Frightening moments for passengers headed to Paradise as 3 dozen people were hurt on a Hawaiian Airlines flight during severe turbulence. It happened yesterday on a flight from Phoenix to Honolulu. The plane was about 36,000 feet in the air and about 30 minutes from Hawaii when the violent turbulence hit. People were reportedly flying out of their seats, some of them knocked unconscious. 36 people were hurt on the flight, 11 of them critically. There were 278 passengers and 2 crew members on board. The plane did safely land, so that is good news. Officials in Texas are declaring a state of emergency as they brace for a possible sudden surge of migrants just days before a controversial Trump-era policy could be lifted. Guad Venegas is in El Paso, Texas with more.
A state of emergency at the Texas border. The mayor of El Paso making the declaration late Saturday.
Our asylum seekers are not safe as we have hundreds and hundreds on the streets, and that's not the way we want to treat people.
He says more than 15,000 migrants have arrived in the last week, and now that number is expected to explode with a Trump-era policy known as Title 42 set to be lifted on Wednesday. A public health rule implemented in March of 2020 in response to the COVID pandemic, making it easier to return hundreds of thousands of migrants to Mexico.
If the courts do not intervene and put a halt to the removal of Title 42, it's going to be total chaos.
Officials say the number of migrants attempting to cross the border could more than double daily, but border towns are already strained.
¿Para dónde vas?
Nueva York.
Nueva York. He's waiting for transport so he can get to New York.
Men, women, and children fleeing violence and poverty, seeking asylum at this makeshift camp in downtown El Paso.
It's freezing temperatures overnight. We have children and babies who were sleeping in streets.
So she says this entire sidewalk was full of people who slept there.
Volunteers bringing clothing, food, and water.
This is one of the parts of El Paso where the asylum seekers are sleeping on the ground. This person's even using a cardboard box to stay warm. They're also getting food and water in this area. It's right next to the bus station where some of these buses are being used for them to get to their destination.
Others seeking shelter at El Paso International Airport. Now, one final attempt by a group of Republican-led states to prevent a possible sudden surge of migrants. They're calling on the Supreme Court to intervene as soon as tomorrow.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.